Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. This series I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, that darn kitty.
Dorkus and I are sharing our experience reading The Way of Kings for the first time. Each episode we will summarize what we've read and discuss our experience along the way.
This is Storming the Archives, The Way of Kings, and today we discuss Chapter 24.
Chapter 24.
Chapter 24, Gallery of Maps. Dalinar meets with High Prince Royan in the King's Gallery of Maps. He laments that men used to grow and reach toward the light, but no longer seem to do so. Royan has won the least amount of gem hearts among the High Princes. Dalinar points out that Sadeas has been buying plateaus from other High Princes, making it easier for him to maneuver to battle sites more quickly. Royan takes several jabs at Dalinar. Dalinar notes that the jabs go further than Royan would have been willing to go before. Dalinar invites Royan to participate in a joint plateau assault. Royan refuses, as he has enough manpower. Dalinar argues that each High Prince has different strengths, faster bridgemen, better archers, and so on. Dalinar goes so far as to offer the first shard blade and shard plate that they win, even though he had already promised to get Renarin a set. Royan claims he'll think on the offer, but Dalinar expects he will decline. Later, Adolin informs his father that Sadeas has requested permission to enter into Dalinar's territory for the purpose of investigating the leather strap. Adolin strongly believes Sadeas will work to undermine Dalinar and his family. He wants Dalinar to fight back. Dalinar insists he has made his choice to trust Sadeas, to act with honor. He admits he's listening to the voice. Adolin loses his temper. Everyone's allowed to insult Dalinar, but when Adolin tells his father the truth, that he isn't well, he's immediately chastised. Dalinar loses his own temper, shouting for Adolin to go. My book starts off with a very nice-looking picture. Do you have one of those?
Yes.
It's a very scary lobster-looking thing, and a bunch of people crowding around it, yeah?
Yeah, looking quite terrified.
Clearly, this is the thing that Alucard and company fought, yeah?
Yeah, the chasm fiend.
Yes.
Mm.
Does it appear to be like a charcoal rubbing to you, or is that just me, because of the black and white?
Yeah, it does appear that way. Like maybe somebody, this was an engraving or whatever, and that's actually how it was done. It's not actually a sketch.
Yeah.
But there seems like there's buildings underneath it, and there's no annotation. It doesn't tell you where this comes from, and other things you would know.
Yeah.
Are there any paintings or anything described in this chapter? I don't recall.
Well, it's the Gallery of Maps. I don't
So why
recall.
would this be there?
Yeah. I don't recall paintings. I think Sanderson described the room, and it sounds pretty enough. In fact, it's in the very first line, the King's Gallery of Maps balanced beauty and function. So maybe there's something there. With regard to the buildings, the detail is very hard for me to make out, but I could also potentially see them as war camp tents or soul cast stone things. So, yeah, I think we're looking at that event.
Yeah, which has not happened. It doesn't seem like that's happened because that we've seen a chasm fiend on top of a plateau thingy-majiggy. We haven't seen it in a war camp. So, and that's massive. Maybe that's a really big one. Like I know they're big, but that's incredibly large.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. If you'll pardon the comparison, I don't know if you'll know it, but the chasm fiend looks just a little bit different than I had expected. I had imagined something more like a corefish from Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
It's big bad monster, like it's indistinct in my mind. But corefish is so cute.
It is. Okay, the thing that corefish evolves into, I don't remember what it's called. Crawdont?
Evolution. Hold on. Crawdont, yeah. Crawdaunt, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very daunting.
Yeah. Either way, the picture is suitably scary, suitably large, and let's not forget that Dalinar did the Captain America Thanos thing with one of those claws.
Right? Freaking cool. Don't forget that, Adlin, but yeah, I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, but before that, the epigraph, neither point makes the things I have written to you here untrue.
Again, fragmented, just adding on to the previous thing, making it difficult to keep track. It's like you have story in between these epigraphs, so it's like if you're not going to make a diagram of them all after you finish this book, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Look forward to the epigraph diagram when we finish
Mm-hmm.
the book, folks. That'll probably
Mm-hmm.
happen.
At, uh, when we are old.
Indeed. Oh, I wanted to follow up on something with you. Last week, I was very tired by the time we finished recording our episode, but you were making such a wonderful theory, which mirrored some thoughts that I had as well,
Mm-hmm.
presuming that Kaladin may have actually won a shard blade or shard plate in that first chapter, and that
Mm-hmm.
Amaram probably like took it away from him,
Yeah.
which I think is a wonderful presumption or prediction. And it's one that I also imagined. The important thing that I didn't think to mention last week was that would mimic Kaladin's childhood chapter, in which he's hanging out with Jarl and the other group of boys. And that one childhood farmer boy was like, "My pa got a shard blade, but it was taken from him." And Kaladin was like, "That probably didn't happen."
Yeah. That's so true. That is you I'm glad you brought it up this chapter. It didn't cross my mind, but you're so right. That parallel is it's very much there. Have to take note of it.
Yeah, I almost wonder if like that all but confirms it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It doesn't mean it's not a great thing to confirm, but you know,
Yeah.
I like the way it all fits. It's very neat. It's very aesthetically pleasing if we had to put it in a diagram.
Yes. Now on to the actual chapter.
Mhm.
There's a part of me that's a little bit ambivalent on it for a reason, but I don't think it's as bad as that even makes it sound. It's a short
Okay.
chapter, and I think we get a little bit of repetitive Sanderson in it. Now, hold on, folks, before anyone says I'm complaining about it, I want to highlight that it's so much more well executed in this chapter that I think it's laudable
Mhm.
than it has been in other books that we've read. And it's short and it's functional. One part was Dalinar thinking to himself how sloppy Royan looks. And I'm like, okay, yes, we know he keeps having these thoughts about how everyone is so sloppy.
Mhm.
We keep getting Dalinar has this far off, distracted look in his eyes. And even the argument with Adolin at the end was so similar to previous discussions that Adolin has had with Dalinar. The counterbalancing point to that, and I did say I was ambivalent,
Mm.
was that it makes some logical sense chronologically given Sadius's recent action. There was a small bit of whiplash having come just off the tails of Dalinar's "Do you trust me?" conversation with him, but all in all, it's not what Brandon Sanderson used to do, where it's almost as if he just copy pasted certain things. This repetitive Sanderson, each repeat is structured a little bit differently and earned a little bit differently in the chronology as well. What do you think of all of that, Kite?
I'm with you on the my keyword that I got from you was functional. So yes, there is repetition, and I agree with you. It's it's way better executed, so it's not like a literally the same turns of phrase all the time, which I'm not sensitive to anyway. I've read Wheel of Time, and Wheel of Time has the same sort of things, so I'm absolutely fine with those sort of repetitions. But repetition of plot points and things like that gets annoying to me. But this sort of thing is actually functional in that it's giving us an insight into the character's mind. This is how his life is. This is how his consciousness is every day. So him thinking about how sloppy everything is part of what he's going through. It's not just fluff that's written there by Brandon. So yeah, I am okay with this repetition as well.
Yeah. Royan's a dick.
Yeah, I expected as much. I feel like a lot of these high princes are just dicks anyway, and a lot of people are just going to seem that way as well when compared to Dalinar. I feel like Dalinar is good guy Dalinar,
Yeah.
so anyone else is just going to be short, just going to come up short.
Yeah. A part of that repetitive Sanderson is that Royan basically lauds over Dalinar the rumors that have been going about. We
Mm.
already know this. Royan goes a bit farther than he used to, but he still holds himself back at least a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't do it directly. But I feel like that has to be there because if it wasn't, we would be saying, hey, 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 that in context, this person is not behaving the way we have already learnt everyone's behaving.
Agreed.
This is a concrete example of what has changed with these High Lords and how they
Agreed.
feel. Yeah.
Agreed. And it's the way they interact is not so different from the way that Sadius has interacted and
Mhm.
Alucard has interacted. This just seems to be part and parcel of Alethi culture.
Alethi culture that I'm also just dissatisfied with. I love the one line that we get in this where it's like strength for strength's sake. What good was strength unless you did something with it?
Yeah, that's a really good line.
Mm, yeah.
And one detail that I really liked about the Royan segment is that Dalinar's been talking to his generals about how to make joint plateau assaults work.
Mhm.
And he's like, Sadius has the fastest bridge runners. Gee, I wonder why. And you've got the best archers. I've got the best infantrymen. If we work together and we can get them to this one specific plateau, maybe we could make this work. I really like that he's put some time and effort into developing some war plans, and we got a glimpse into that. I thought that was extremely well done.
Yeah, it's not just, "Ah, there's hope and let's all work together." It's like, no, he's actually got plans. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's persuasive. Just in world, that is a persuasive thing. The fact that he is working on that sort of thing, it speaks to his character, but it makes him more convincing, even though I guess you just think, yeah, the first one you speak to is probably not gonna work out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But we know the approach that he has taken or is gonna be taking. If we miss meetings with other high princes, we'll know that this is the kind of approach that he took. I think it's giving us an example for behind the scenes sort of scenes.
And then Royan quotes the Sunmaker. So Dalinar says, Royan, we cannot continue to treat this war as a game. To which Royan responds, all wars are games, the greatest kind with the pieces lost real lives, the prizes captured making for real wealth. This is the life for which men exist, to fight, to kill, to win.
Yeah.
The Sunmaker was the last Alethi king to unite the High Princes, presumably before Gavilar? Yeah?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I wonder how recent this shift in culture to such a warlike thing has been.
Yeah. It seems like, look, they were warriors before, but they had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's infighting. It seems that's what seems to have been demonstrated to us through the vision. That they were heroes before. And now it's just, okay, we're we're just fighting amongst ourselves and kind of just reveling in the excesses of war. All of the worst parts of war,
Yeah.
yeah, you can see what he's up against because that's in their culture.
Yeah. And then Dalinar wants so badly to get a plate and blade for Renarin because he made that promise, but he's willing to offer Royan the first set that they come across.
I was so disappointed. Yeah, I was like, "Oh no, Renarin's gonna be so heartbroken."
Yeah,
'Cause
I felt so
he was
sad for him.
surprised. He was
Yeah.
surprised when he like, "Really?" And it was like so now he's gonna have to understand why his dad has done that. It's a
But
sacrifice. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think he would get over his disappointment
Mhm.
in that eventuality, but it sounds like
Mhm.
Royan's not likely to accept the deal anyway, so it could just be a moot point.
Mhm. But it's still it's a not it still happened. Like, if Renarin heard this, he would still
Yeah,
have feelings about it, I would say.
yeah, definitely. But Renarin's a good boy. He'll
Good
be
boy, they're good
okay.
sons, these
Yeah.
ones.
And then there's Dalinar's feeling like he's just out of reach of seeing the whole picture. He's like, he's looking through for some sort of pattern, some sort of revelation. And it's noteworthy that he's looking at the map of the Shattered Plains, which
Mhm.
is like a puzzle, I imagine, because it's all of these shattered plateaus. I imagine on the map, the plateaus look like puzzle pieces. We had that map earlier in the
Mhm.
thing, so I'm sure that was done very specifically by Sanderson.
Mhm.
But he's just not quite at the revelation. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that's exactly what makes me want to go and just look at it and just be like, "Well, what are we missing as well?" I know the feeling. I know the feeling, Dalinar. I do. Where you're just like, "There's something there. I know there's something to find out." But we're very far off, I would say, from knowing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Whole volumes away from it.
Yeah. And then Adolin comes in and they start arguing again. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, I'm reading through this, and a part of me was thinking, I thought we had avoided having this kind of argument after the last discussion, yet here we are. But Sadius's recent actions do, I think, merit that follow up. The conversation itself progressed reasonably nicely. I say reasonably nicely. I mean, it was very sad to read.
Yeah, it was a confrontation, in my opinion. Like, it was
Yeah.
like Adeline is Adeline himself says, like, he thinks about it. I've never spoken to my father in this manner, so he's really stepped out to try and tell his father, stop this. And I could feel his desperation to kind of like, I'm like, geez, I understand. Maybe Adolin needs to take over for the house's sake, but I'm like, how? And Dalinar, what? Would Dalinar will try and unite them all by himself? They're like a stubbed toe. It's not, that's not going to work out. So I felt really bad for Adolin, and it is like I felt bad for both of them because am I insane? No, I'm not insane. I'm not insane. This is real. This is
And then, but then
mm,
Adolin comparing how Dalinar, of course, feels like he's right to how Elokar feels that he
yeah.
is right. That was just like twisting a knife in the gut reading that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, there are stories. I say this, here's the thing with us as readers. There are
Mm-hmm.
stories about aging fathers, and there are stories about fathers that get Alzheimer's and fathers who are afraid to pass on responsibility to their sons. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
quite think that's what this story that we're reading is. I think Dalinar is right.
It feels that way.
Yeah, so it's almost as if Adolin is trying to force the story. He's obviously not, but it's like Adolin is trying to force this to be the kind of story I just described that you can come across when
Mhm.
it's not, if that makes sense.
It's
And
what he believes. He believes that that's
yes,
the story. He believes that's the explanation.
exactly, and
He
I find it
that's yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, both sides, because you understand why Adeline feels the way he does. You
Hmm.
can't you like, it would feel it just would not make sense for him to believe immediately what his father's saying.
Yeah,
He needs something more than this, and because it is way more likely, no, his dad's just been hit on the head a couple times, you
yeah,
know? Like
but it's like, come on. you haven't even given your dad a chance to implement his more aggressive strategies and tactics yet. Let him do that and then fight him if he doesn't follow through or something like that. But I will say this argument could be very poignant in this chapter, poignantly placed in this chapter because of a seed that Sanderson planted earlier in the chapter with Royan, where he said some rumors are saying that your sons should be taken over for you because of your illnesses. So this could be setting that up as a potential thing. If Adolin does get frustrated enough, he could coup the family.
Yeah, basically, like, it's for your own good, Dad. You are not well. Like, he does say it,
Mm-hmm.
like, out loud now. I think previously we've just had it like, oh, you've had certain they've kind of danced around it a little bit, euphemized it, but if that's a word. But but he literally says it out loud. You are not well. This like he oh god, that hurt.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that could come to some sort of fruition at some point.
Yeah.
This is not going to just be. He can't just be like, "I'm your dad. I'm the boss forever." Um,
Right.
it's not going to work the whole way. And
Mhm.
I can see why Adolin has this outburst now because of Sadius. But I agree with Dalinar. There is nothing that they can do. They can't deny Sadius
Yeah.
coming into the
So, yeah. And I understand Adolin is frustrated that his dad promised to think about whether or not Sadius is trustworthy and then didn't change his mind to be more in
camp.
line with what Adolin's opinion is. But I absolutely loved Dalinar's determination. The voice told me to trust Sadius, act with honor, and honor will aid me. I believe it, and that is how I will behave. And I really hope that works out for him. I love the determination and belief in
Mm.
that.
I got Ned Stark vibes. I know that he lives a
Oh
lot
no.
longer, but
Don't say
I
that.
was I just thought of Ned Stark where I'm like, I know that you think honor will prevail. I want it to, and it should. You're right, but life's got other plans, man.
Yeah.
Not to say that he's gonna die. It's just that it's not gonna be easy. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, they talk a little bit about truth. Adolin feels he's the only one willing to speak the truth. Everyone else can lie, but when he speaks the truth, that's a problem. And that bounces across many of the earlier chapters we've read, particularly with Syl saying, what would you make? Everyone lies. So the
Mm.
one person who tells the truth must be mad. Of course, we think that Dalinar here is the mad, truthful one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else to say on this chapter?
I actually really liked it. There's a because of the feelings it stirred. That's fun.
Yeah, talking about it makes me like it even more, I think. And
Mm.
again, for clarity, my comments about it being a little bit of repetitive Sanderson was not a chastisement of the chapter. It was happiness that
Praise.
praise that he was able to do it with so much more skill than he has done in the past. So, yay.
Yay. Like the video.
If you like. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks,
Thanks,
bye.
bye.
And subscribe to that Don't Get It.